Anti-derivative Jill.
Hello, I am Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations, number 75. Today, we're reviewing the next original series episode in production order and its return to tomorrow.
The next original series episode in production order.
Yeah, did you hear me say that? Hello? Can you hear me, Scotty? R37?
I can. Hang on.
Sounds like you can't hear me. Can you
No,
hear
I
me,
can.
Pop Culture Curator?
Yes, I hear you.
Am I loud enough or am I quiet?
Sounds
I
good.
need to be louder.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
I
we
can
hear you.
Great.
I'm
All
so
right.
glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, Scotty R37. How are you doing today?
I'm well.
Great.
How are you?
Wonderful. Make sure to follow Scotty R37 on Twitter or X or whatever dumb name it's going to be this week.
Yes.
And then also subscribe to Pop Culture Curator. His channel numbers are exploding. He was in the 200s for the longest time. And over the past week, he's blown through. Like he's gained like 100 subscribers out of nowhere. And now he has over 400 subscribers. Congratulations, Pop Culture Curator. You're
Thank
catching
you,
up
yeah.
so quick.
I know. I don't know what happened, but it's a good thing, I guess. Thank you.
I don't know what happened. The algorithm is being kind. So now.
Yes.
It's nice.
All hail the algorithm.
Yep. You fed it something it liked. That's why Hungry calls it the algo beast. And so tonight you're going to be watching something on your channel.
Yes, tonight we're going to be covering Scanners from 1981 on our horror sci-fi channel.
Right,
Join us
okay,
if you're able.
So for reference to production of these episodes, some facts come from Star Trek 365, the original series by Paula M. Block and Terry J. Erdman, as seen as I first saw them on the original series reviews on the Clobberin Times channel with Raquel Briggs. And so with that said, let's check out Return to Tomorrow. Before I begin with the slides, I'll give away the basic summary so no one has to worry about spoilers. And actually, I didn't do the slides today. I did them, but I didn't create the actual slideshow. So I'll be doing that concurrently right now. It's not difficult. Just insert the pictures. But I am going scene by scene, but I don't mind if we go out of order. So if you find something you really want to mention, you can. So here's the summary for the episode. Deep beneath the surface of a long dead world, Kirk finds a vault containing the vestiges of an ancient civilization, and that civilization's last 3 survivors, Sargon, his wife, Thalassa, and Sargon's former enemy, Henok, their conscious minds stored within orb-like receptacles. Sargon needs Kirk's help. He and his 2 compatriots require the temporary use of 3 human bodies in order to construct android shells that will ultimately house their minds. Kirk agrees, and his mind is transferred to the orb as Sargon moves into his body. Henoch's mind takes Spock's body, and Thalassa receives that of a female astrobiologist. All goes well until Henoch privately decides that he wants to keep Spock's body. Of course, to do so, he'll need to destroy both Sargon and Captain Kirk. I have to be right back because I left my coffee in the other room and I require.
No problem. Hello, everybody. Good to see you, everyone in the chat, and good to see you, Scotty.
Hey, it's good to see you, Pop, and congratulations on the upswing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's exciting.
And then I guess in other housekeeping sort of news, last week was obviously the 57th anniversary of Star Trek. We did a Star Trek Day celebration on Jill's channel and covered Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home with Bird of Prey 5 and Robert Meyer Burnett. And it got, speaking of algorithms and overlords, it got sort of swept under the rug for a couple of days because of a recap that was from promotional material. But it's back up now. And so if you want to check that out, I'm sure Jill would appreciate the views.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations to Jill for winning that little battle.
Yes. Oh, for sure. It was touch and go for a bit. But yeah, it's great. Hey, DeFranco Walker in the chat. An overacting Shatner giving speeches, a smiling, ruthless Nimoy, and Diana Muldar. What's not to love? With all the pluses.
All the pluses. I know. I love this episode. So good.
JT Kirk says to Jill, check the Discord announcement. You may have put a link where you didn't want to. Oh, no.
Well, actually, I did mean to put the link there, but I mean, maybe I'll regret it later, but I want to see if anybody out there is interested.
There you go. Risk is our business.
Exactly.
Oh, and Jack Stafford is here. Ahoy! The show will be welcome whenever you're able to do it. No worries. Well, and yes. I didn't even check the clip library. Canadian Spider-Man is here. Hello and
Canadian.
welcome, everyone.
Hello, Spidey.
Hello.
Good to see you.
I'm just sharing my slides. Here we are.
Rock and roll.
There's the Enterprise remastered. And thank you for starting on the chat, Scotty.
Cheers.
Hello, Matt
Spidey.
G.
There we go.
And Scotty, you were just running late just recently, but you're here now.
Yes.
Don't have to worry about that.
We're good.
Franco Walker says, a big spider has just crawled up my arm, then disappeared over the back of the chair. Well, it was really nice looking. I'm now full of web.
Whatever a spider can.
Wow. So you mean you didn't flip out and run away from your chair?
Which is what I would do, yes.
Wow, Franco Walker really loves the spiders. I love them too. I just don't want them on me.
Yeah, the further away they are from me, the better.
Gorilla's Random Thought says, Kapla, this episode is a total F, but too busy to come up with a reason why. You know, that's what I keep hearing. Like, people are like, whatever, but I love it.
Hello, Gorilla. Good to see you.
See, and this is an episode that I've seen like a lot. This just reminds me of the CBC on a Saturday afternoon. I'm not really taken with it, but then I saw the risk is our business. Once the risk is our business speech pops into gear, I'm like, okay, it's an A+.
But because it was shoved in my face so much early on in my watching Star Trek, that is kind of why I like it. Hello to Sean Carter. He says, greetings all.
Hello, Sean. Good to see you.
G'day, mate.
And we get the return of Sulu.
We do.
Yeah, he's back from the Green Berets. He didn't get much lines, but he did get command of the bridge for a little bit. While the landing party were on the planet. Mark Harkness says, hello. And for the record, had a friend who wrote a Star Trek Star Wars EU crossover. He underlined the failings of the Empire when an Imperial admiral notes that risk is not our business.
Very cool.
That's
Oh,
funny.
Yeah, that's a cool fan fiction. Franco Walker says, I don't remember Kirk leaving his coffee in the other room. Yeah, I left.
That's why we miss Rand.
He left it in the rec room. Exactly. And where's my Yomi? She's I'd say she's in preschool, but she's of a higher rank. JT Kirk says, I'd love to participate more. Work is just that busy. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here while you're at work. Franco loves spiders. He doesn't just love spiders. He says, I used to breed them. Oh,
Used to make more.
wow. That's awesome.
Magic.
Mark says, this episode is mentioned in the series Criminal Minds, where Spencer Reed is dared to identify the episode and the McCoy quote. Well, I have it here.
Oh, really?
Pedal flesh. I'm a physician.
There were more quotes I wanted, but I really like it.
You mewling sub-creature, I could destroy you with a thought.
Yeah, that's another one. That's pretty good.
Well, and also, like, if we are flashing forward to the next generation, we do get two chief medical officers here. We get Pulaski and McCoy face to face.
That's right. And they have a scene together in that way. That's pretty cool. So I'm actually pretty nostalgic about this one. I don't know if you can be nostalgic about something from when you were 19, but that was around when I was first watching Star Trek, and this is one of them that's very important to me. Not as important as Devil in the Dark or the really good episodes like Balance of Terror, but for some reason this is still a very special one for me. It stays in my mind, and the story is consuming to me, and the memory of it is pretty strong. I love this episode, and I wonder if why I love it is because it's a graduation of the ideas from the cage, from the Telosians losing most of their physical form, being kind of weaklings, and then culminating in the Gamesters of Triskelion, where you have those brains in the dome. But this episode is all about that idea. Well, what would happen if these brains were completely separate from everyone and they were just that lonely and trying to figure out how to get back into the world? And that's been a theme with other energy and cloud beings in Star Trek. And so I know this sounds like the end of my review already, but I think
that's it, everybody. Let's pack it in.
I think that's why this episode hits me this way, because it all comes together with this theme of discovering entities that aren't quite godlike, and yet who nevertheless want no part of it. They want to be mortal again. And I figured out why I like this episode, because it reminds me a lot of The Next Generation. I know a lot of, I don't know. Guess who my favorite character in The Next Generation is? The man who has more intellect and power than a human, but would give it all up to achieve that status. And of course, that's Data. And so
I thought it was Wesley.
Oh. No.
My mistake.
That's a good one, though. I know TNG will never hold a candle to TOS, but a lot of what I like about TNG is in this episode, which may be a good thing or bad thing to people, depending on how much you love that show.
Well, and on the rewatch, it is a thoughtful episode about the implications of, having such power and usurping the bodies of lesser beings, and what are the responsibilities of more powerful creatures.
Yeah, so exactly.
It is. Sorry, you were saying.
No, you can finish your thought.
I just also, one of the things that kept sort of popping up in my head was, all right, so what are we doing? We're transferring our consciousness into a golem, an android body. Oh no. But then it all gets redeemed. Spoilers for Return to Tomorrow, where Sargon and Thalasia are like, do you really want to live in a robot? Nah, I'd rather be in oblivion, thank you. So they are
Well, they
wiser
remind me.
than not Picard.
Yeah,
Bald
well,
spaceman.
they remind me a whole lot of, not of that, but of Q, except for Q is able to take whatever form he wants, and these energy beings are not so lucky. So, Return to Tomorrow first aired on February 9th, 1968. And the title of this episode is explained in a line of dialogue that got cut from the episode, where Henoch was a little more sexually kind of deviant. And Mulhall says, a return to tomorrow that might have been. And then I guess Henoch kisses her brutally and says, and will be.
Well, and
so-
remember the Schizoid Man? When Dr. Ira Graves sort of takes over Data? It's kind of cool. Kind of like that.
Oh, it is a little bit like that too. And there's a reason why I get strong TNG vibes here. So if you think of anything that correlates to that, definitely go for it. Oh man, that that engineer though, what a terrible engineer. So
Who,
this
Scotty?
not Scotty.
Oh no,
the TNG
Mr.
one.
Argyle.
Yeah,
Was it Mr. Argyle in that one? Yeah.
Was his name Argyle? I don't remember. I just remember him.
He's he's sort of the heavyset dude with the beard.
No,
because I know he was in Data Lore. I think he was in Data Lore, and he appeared in like 2 episodes.
I don't think he was fat.
Well, he would. Well, all right. I don't want to shame anybody.
It was written by John Kingsbridge, but his real name was actually John Dugan. He worked on the script mostly with Gene L. Kuhn, with the final draft teleplay finished by Gene Roddenberry. And somewhere along the writing exchange, John wasn't happy with the changes and withdrew his real name to put in place the pseudonym Kingsbridge, which was, I guess, it was kind of awkward once he got nominated for the Writers Guild Award for his screenplay.
Yeah, funny how it happened a lot in Star Trek.
Yeah, right. Shades of City on the Edge of Forever, huh?
Yep.
But apparently most of the changes John didn't mind. It was just one particular change, which we'll get to later, that he didn't like. This episode... Okay, wait. No, I read that one. Gorilla says, to be honest, I don't even remember this. And you want to give it an F, Gorilla? Come on, be fair. Subspace Chatter. Hey, Subspace
Ahoy.
Chatter. All of those episodes have roots in ancient mythology. Jack Stafford says, McCoy and Pulaski cranky match to the death. Yeah, exactly. And it is kind of funny because Pulaski was directed to act like McCoy, but it didn't quite work out because McCoy kind of has a paternal kind of instinct combined with his crotchetiness, I guess. But the combination of those two, the loving care and the what are you doing, you weird dumb person, she had one but not the other. So if they would have just given her a little bit of maternal care, then I think people would have been really sad to see her go. Franco Walker says, I'm back. I'm not buying one at those prices. Mark Harkness says, after working on the Green Berets, Sulu should be used to dealing with godlike beings, as only demigod John Wayne could make the sun set over the South China Sea. And hello to Susan Dolan. Hey, how are you doing?
Hello.
So,
Huh?
oh, hey, where am I at? Where am I at here?
Mark Harkness says, McCoy and Pulaski, always two there are, a master and an apprentice, if we're going by Sith rules. But Diana Muldar, still alive. I had to look it up.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but the author, John what?
Duggan?
John Duggan. He says, you will note, wait, what did he say? One hopes that I followed each and every suggestion, both Gene C and Gene R, and despite this, the script seems to work very well. I think you will find that I have simplified the technical aspects, which should warm your cockles, of your heart, that is. Also, I think all your running characters are used sufficiently for them to earn their paychecks and to keep them in the mind's eye of the audience. Please note that our leads, while playing the Atarian, Aretans. Okay, so they never say the name of this planet, so I don't know how to pronounce this. Aretans speak in their own voices. That was my original intention, Gene R, which I apparently did not make clear in the story. Of course, this is better for us in many ways, including the obviating of dubbing. Finally, please like it. You know how explicitive sensitive I am. The book censors itself, so I don't know what explicitive John used there. But this episode was directed by Ralph Sinensky because Joseph Pevney left the show.
Oh.
I was just like, hi.
I quit.
I guess they quit. Yeah, he quit. And Gene L. Kuhn sent a private letter to Gene Roddenberry also saying I quit. But he was kind of joking, half joking. Gorilla's Random Thought says, well, how can I give something other than an F if it's so unmemorable? I don't know. Do what you want then. You can, but you know, I'm not stopping you from clicking that F button if you really feeling that F. Franco Walker says Diana Mulder was also in Quincy, M.E. And
Quincy? She was in L.A. Law as well.
Apparently she got an award for that, right?
I think so.
L.A. Law, something. An Emmy? I don't know what she got. What did she get? Now that
She's also in Columbo. She did a lot of stuff.
Well, I have to see what award she got.
She was in the John Wayne movie McHugh, which is not a Western. It's a cop. It's one of the John Wayne cop movies.
I have to find
out. For the record, she did not like the way her character was written for TNG.
Okay, so she was only nominated for LA Law. And you know what? I take her word for it that she didn't like how she was written because she knew how Star Trek should be written because she's an actual fan.
But also, I really admired her, like Pulaski's relationship with both Worf and O'Brien. I think one of the reasons why we get such an expanded role for Miles O'Brien in obviously Next Generation and Deep Space Nine is because of the pairing. Like they were. O'Brien and Pulaski were buddies, and I really enjoyed that. I missed Dr. Crusher, but I liked the interactions that she had with certain crew members.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. She ended up, there was some contention with her and Data for a while, but eventually they did come to a good conclusion on that. Mark Harkness says, note that some of the blowback on Pulaski is folks feeling that she was being rough on a child. Data did not consider himself a child. And, well, there were some pretty terrible things she did say to him, but things did come to a better conclusion the last time that they ran into, and in one episode, I forget which one it was, where they finally had a discussion that was intelligent between the two, and they both acknowledged each other in a good way. Jack
Mark
Stafford
Harkness.
says...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Read that one.
I was going to say Mulder got an Emmy and The Shaft, referring to her untimely demise on LA Law.
I was wondering about the second half of that sentence. I didn't know what that meant. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Stafford said that was also the second year of the writer's strike. Oh, yeah, that's right. The second year of TNG was the writer's strike.
Speaking of Shades of Grey.
Oh, this is the great part. Okay, so we are hundreds of light years past where any ship has ever explored. And this, for me, when I was first watching this show, when I was watching Star Trek for the first time, I kept hearing this in the theme, to boldly go where no man has gone before. But every time I would watch this episode, it was always like a distress call or somewhere where other people have been. And so this was the first episode where I really felt like they really were out there where no one else was. And so that gave me that impression that exploration is the most important mission of the Enterprise. This entire episode does. And encountering different life forms is always going to be the type of episodes that I'm drawn to the most. And certainly losing your corporeal form has been played on before and is played here and will be played on again. I know this isn't the first time these things happen, but I think this is the first episode where I really noticed what is so special about Star Trek. Sure, Kirk is off exploring unknown portions of the galaxy, and he has to make decisions on his own due to that distance. But he still takes the time to phone home, even though it's going to take 3 weeks for that information to come back. The response, anyway. What Starfleet thinks of these things.
I really appreciated that as a feeling of being on the final frontier when he does say, how long is it going to be until Starfleet receives this log? And Uhura says 3 weeks. Just knowing the distance and the authority and autonomy that Kirk and the Enterprise had, I thought it was nice touches, especially in the world building as well.
Definitely. And so, of course, they find an M-class planet, Earth-like.
Which is, I do have a question about that. I thought class M planets were oxygen, nitrogen atmospheres.
They are.
But this is a class M planet without an atmosphere. At one point, it would have been class M, but it is not currently class M.
So you're right. Maybe the classification should be different because it no longer meets the requirements of a class M planet. So a former class M planet, now what do you call a dead planet? But it isn't so dead after all, because there is something within the core of the planet allowing something to live somehow. But it's just beings of pure energy. And that's why I like when they go down to the planet. Is this air for do the species here need the air, or is this air just here for us?
And it seems to be the latter.
Mm-hmm. It's just there for them, you think?
That's what I
So
think.
too.
Let's turn on the AC. We're having guests.
Yeah, that's polite.
It's polite.
Well,
I love. You think they're going to want to breathe? I think so. Yes.
See, you guys are watching this review, and you don't get to feel what I feel when I watch this episode, because Spock says there's no life, and then as soon as that happens, then that voice, James Doohan's voice, hits the bridge, and I'm pretty chilled. I love it. He admits, oh man, okay, so he talks about his planet. He says it's dead. He says the planet's dead, and then the fate of mankind shall also die if you don't help me out.
A little dramatic.
It is. It's a little dramatic. It's a dramatic commercial because it's a commercial cut. But I think that the line makes sense to me. He says, and I am as dead as my planet. Does that frighten you, James Kirk? For if it does, if you let what is left of me perish, then all of you, my children, all of mankind must perish too. And I think he says this because of the theme that goes on throughout the episode of Sargon wanting to be the teacher, because he calls everybody my children. And if you're a teacher, lots of teachers consider their kids to be their children. So whether or not he is an ancestor of humanity, he sees himself as a teacher and the Enterprise crew as his children. That it's something he says later. He says that if his children don't learn from him, they will make the same mistakes and end up annihilated like his people were. So later on in the episode, he says, our minds will have survived. And as androids, we can move among the people who do live, teaching them, helping them not to make the errors we did. So yeah, it was definitely a dramatic moment, but I think it had a reason. I think it comes together in several locations in the script. And then we get a captain's log.
Ooh. We get a couple of medical logs in this one, too. It's great.
Yeah. And pop culture curator, could you read this captain's log here?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Captain's log, starting 4768.3. The Enterprise is in orbit above a planet whose surface, our sensors tell us, is devoid of all life. A world destroyed and dead for at least 500,000 years. Yet from it comes a voice, the energy of pure thought, telling us something has survived here for those thousands of centuries.
Oh man, and it, you know what, it carries on a bit. I think what comes after it is a very important line that I want read too, because I think the whole, yeah, so this is the rest of the log here.
Since exploration and contact with alien intelligence is our primary mission, I've decided to risk the potential dangers and resume contact. Log entry out. How long before Starfleet receives that?
Over 3 weeks at this distance, sir. All right. And so I do love that too. And this part of the episode is where Kirk realizes he's losing control a bit. He's losing control to this godlike being who Kirk realizes could decimate his ship at any moment or destroy the ship, really. Anytime he wants, and he hasn't done that. So there's a certain level of trust that Captain Kirk is having to place towards this being that he really doesn't have control over.
And we do get to revisit McCoy's aversion to the transporter, although this one is sort of everyone's nervous about it because they're going to be beaming through 100 miles of solid rock.
Well, right, he is totally about that. But before that happens, something told me something else. This is something else I love about Star Trek. I'm all about the episodes. Okay, so Kirk, Spock, and McCoy do end up all in the landing party together. But I love when Kirk suspects a danger being so great that he can't risk bringing his best friend along because Spock is the next best to replace him as captain. Something goes wrong, or to figure out how to save him if needed, or to get the ship to safety if necessary. And of course, when the risk is this high, Spock understands even though he wants to go. And this is another thing that reminds me of TNG, where you have to decide who to take along based on how dangerous this thing is. But of course, the godlike aliens override this decision that Kirk is trying to make. Spock must go. And when the power is restored, well, this isn't the first time that Spock says fascinating, but I really enjoyed this delivery of it. It is very sweet and calm and subtle, and it passes by very quickly, but it's one that really conveys to me Spock's curiosity that plants a normal human emotion of trepidation or fear, and you can taste an awe behind it. I think I might be reading a little bit into it, but I enjoy it. Alpero's gone. There's the fascinating.
Well, and what is that? There's an adage when it comes to writing is that make sure that whatever your characters want, throw obstacles in the way to make it so that it's more difficult. And so you're right. It is Kirk sort of organizing personnel on the ship, doing the absolute correct thing for something so risky. And then Sargon essentially saying, no, this is the way it's going to be because I want it. And it's like, all right, there's an obstacle that we have to overcome. And that obstacle is Spock. Like, when Kirk does the transference with Sargon through the receptacle, they get to know each other through the passing of one another in the energy transference. Spock, once he becomes Henoch, never goes back in, or never comes back out to his body, or else he would be aware and be able to say, Captain, Henoch's an asshole.
Exactly.
We should not be doing this, or at least not with that guy. You seem to trust Sargon, but I can tell you, Henoch is not on the level.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that kind of thing, it isn't revealed until later, until Nurse Chapel does her heroic bit at the end. But that's a good point. In the transporter room, we meet Diana Mulder's character. So Lieutenant Commander Doctor Anne
Doctor.
Mulhall is reporting. So, and who reported her? Kirk didn't do it. He's not in control. It's Sargon. And she's also an astrobiologist. So, and another thing I really noticed at this point in the episode is how much I love the music in this episode. She gets a really great theme song.
Well, yeah, she does get she gets the Beautiful Woman Star Trek theme.
But it's not just one. It's her own. I've never heard this one before. It's not typical look at this pretty lady music, even though it is definitely that. But when it's here's this gorgeous lady who's also an astrobiologist, it sounds different if you compare it to a normal here's a pretty lady music, because those are usually kind of sultry, and this one is kind of like beautiful. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a lieutenant commander. I don't remember who decided to raise her rank, but that is fun.
Right, as a lieutenant commander, that makes her the highest ranking female Starfleet character in the original series.
Right. I think the strength of command and her performance in this episode really speaks to me of her importance here and how she serves. And I can't be the only one who feels that way about how she acts, because she comes back later as Miranda Jones in Is There No Truth?
Is There No Truth in Beauty?
Is There in Truth No Beauty? In season 3.
Is that what it's called? Did I get it wrong? Oh.
Well, I got it wrong too, so we both did. It was fun.
Hooray!
But here we go. Now, Dan McCoy is really upset about this solid rock. He doesn't like transporters to begin with.
Well, and once again, it's an example of Starfleet just being willy-nilly when it goes from metric to imperial units of measurement.
It's true. But they know their science, and they know with their science they could never get through this much rock. So it's science beyond their abilities also happening here, playing up to the godlike abilities. Let's see what we have in the chat. Where am I? I think Crusher and Pulaski could have had an interesting dynamic, says Jack Stafford. Oh yeah, if they work together. I think, yeah, Starship could have more than one doctor. I think that could have been fun.
Oh yeah, there's Dr. Solar.
They're such different doctors that I think that would have been neat.
Well, and I think the only time, and again, just because this is Diana Muldaur, Pulaski's gonna keep popping up, but I think the only character to actually reference Dr. Pulaski after the second season is Dr. Crusher in Who Watches the Watchers with the Mintakans. And it's like, don't forget, like, Prime Directive, and Crusher says, yes, I'm well aware of Dr. Pulaski's methodology for mind wipes, or something along those lines.
Oh, nice. I really love that episode. J.T. Kirk says the most important mission of the Defiant was to shuttle Odo around, collecting worms for Colonel Kira. Franco Walker says, well spotted, Scotty.
Cheers. Class
JT
D, yes.
Says, Class D has no atmosphere. Susan Dolan asks, have any of you read The Making of Star Trek?
I don't know. It sounds like something I might have read ages ago, like in high school.
I haven't yet. I do mean to.
Well, and James Caserta says, Could it be a preserver, which is another thing in terms of the seeding of life on worlds? Obviously, there's a Next Generation episode, The Chase. Later on in the original series, we do get the is it Paradise Syndrome with I Am Kirok, and that was a preserver's obelisk to try and protect that planet. So I do sometimes the preservers are sort of secondary. I don't want to say beta canon, but like they're always the preservers and like the Iconians are two species that they get brought up once and it's like they get expanded upon in beta canon, but it is a possibility. It's really interesting. I don't have any answers. I just wanted to expound on preservers.
Oh, thank you very much. I can't wait till we get there. Susan Dolan says to Franco Walker, I can't remember who wrote it, but the author goes over each episode and has a goodly amount of photos behind the scene stories. Lovely.
Nice.
Jack Stafford says, I think it would have been cool to have two different docs debate. So different. Yeah. And they weren't the same characters, so that would have been really fun.
Yeah. And on Deep Space Nine, you get Bashir and Dr. Zimmerman, the creator of the EMH, which is fun to see them on screen together.
Good point. Franco Walker says, no, I've not read that, but I've got the episode guide, which is the same sort of thing, really thick with color photos.
Nice. Yeah, the one I read, it would have been a soft cover, like a paperback, and it had like a bunch of photos in the middle, but they were black and white. So I don't think I have read it.
Sean Carter says, I took the music more as a foreshadow of the romance and love we are about to see between Sargon and Felicia? Delacia. Hey, hello to Eugene Bird. He says, working? We'll watch the replay.
Hello, Eugene.
Yes, hello, Eugene Bird on the replay. I hope you enjoy the replay of this episode. Oh my goodness.
Hello from the past.
Message. I gotta read this message in case it's important. Oh no. Okay, great. My Thursday is planned. Anyhow. I'm going to
Mine
eat
too.
on Thursday.
Bird of prey, kapla.
Kapla, Bird of prey. Good to see you, sir. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, hey, Bird of Prey 5. Everybody remember after my stream today to head over if you're a member of Bird of Prey 5's channel. He's having a member stream, but even if you're not a member, I think you can still watch from the chat. I don't know for sure about that part, but I know for sure that if you're a member, you can go on the panel with him or talk to him in the chat. It'll be fun.
Captain Fandom Nerd, ahoy.
Hello, Captain Fandom Nerd. And there we go. We are caught up. There we go. We're on the landing pad.
Look who it is. Just in the far right of the transporter. Our boy, Eddie Paskey.
Well, we'll see him again a little more clearly when he doesn't make it. Here, he's not going to make it.
I'm just excited.
Sargon doesn't let the security team go to the planet.
I'm surprised one of them didn't yell, "The women!" or "Woman!"
Well, Spock does have a line. He says, "The security detail," and he doesn't yell the line like he does in the cage and the menagerie. What does he say exactly? Captain, the security guards. So he does it.
He does. He's always aware. Good for him.
But this time, he has the proper emotional state. And of course, that's another danger of Captain Kirk's losing control over who he gets to send down to the landing party. And that's exciting to me. It's not exactly cool that Captain Kirk has to lose control, but he takes careful note of it every time it happens.
Looks like Raymond Burr in the middle. It's not, but it looks like him.
Who's Raymond Burr?
Perry Mason or Ironsides. He was an actor. He was in the original American adaptation of Godzilla, where they just sort of intermixed American actors in with the Japanese original. Raymond Burr, everybody.
Mm-hmm. And they're under. Oh, then there's an alloy or substance completely unknown that is harder. And what? I forget.
Oh,
Am I not in the right? I'm not in the right transcript. Why am I in this transcript? Oh man, I switched my transcript to Catspaw because my mom called about Halloween decorations and she's going to decorate my house for my children. It's for me, obviously, because she can do sturgeon.
I need marionettes. But yeah, it is. This is sort of an exploration of the. It is almost like the Iconian subterranean transport room, except without the transport. It's more of a.
It's more of a what?
Oh, just a library of consciousness.
Yes, and he says the alloy is stronger and harder than anything he's measured before. I thought he was going to make a comparison to another substance, but he doesn't. And is the air for us? Okay, and then we actually get it at curtain. That's funny. Reveal Sargon.
Which is, yeah. I like the design, and we sort of encounter beings like Sargon, at least being a voice that is represented just by a physical object in a container, like the gamesters of Triskelion. And
yeah, but usually when we encounter these godlike aliens, they're just, hey, here, I'm going to explain what happened here, and then I'm going to go away forever. You're never going to see us again. So I love that this episode is all about hanging out with them the entire time.
And there is, I think it was mentioned just in terms of you doing the regular voice without the reverb. I appreciate the reverb. I don't think anybody else can hear it. It is to differentiate for the audience when one of the crew is inhabited. But I did. I liked the subtle differences between Kirk and Sargon. I thought Shatner was doing a really good
in that
job in
case,
his
you're
performance.
gonna love a edit of our Gamesters of Triskelion video that Sean Carter made for me. I haven't uploaded it yet, but he added reverb to your voice.
Oh, really? Huzzah!
Yeah.
Thank you.
So a surprise right here. I'll upload it soon.
I'd like to hear the reverb on the Valley Girl impression that I was doing.
Yes, it'd be amazing. But what's amazing about this scene is that Sargon talks about how his people colonize the galaxy just like Starfleet is doing with the Federation. And
do you think of the Federation as, well, I guess they do have Starfleet or Federation colonies, so I guess they are by definition colonizers.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Nope.
And so this episode was so good. Usually, as a production note about the production of this podcast, I always watch my episode after Pop Culture Curator's Lost in Space stream. And so it is quite late once I get to it. And when I do, I'm often tired and I just enjoy the episode and take screenshots, and I do my notes in the morning. And I tried that, but something about that, I couldn't do that. I had to make notes. I made notes last night because that's how much I think about this episode. And so, I don't know. I'm enthralled by this notion that 6,000 years ago, when Sargon species were exploring the galaxy like Starfleet does, and that they seeded worlds and that humans may be their descendants. That's wild. And I'm going to make another parallel to TNG. It's for better or for worse. It kind of made me think of that episode that tried to explain why so many of the humanoid species, uh, why so many aliens are humanoid in the universe by giving a common ancestor. And maybe if you go further back than that, from that episode, you reach beings like this. So I don't know. I think it ties together pretty beautifully. I'm not saying those two species are the same, but it makes me think about it. But what makes this episode better than the TNG one is that it was definitive there, pretty much. But here in the TOS episode, it's only a question. It's left open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Dr. Ann reminds us that we believe that life evolved on Earth independent of outside influence. So, and even Sargon's like, okay, it was a while back. You maybe are children, maybe not. We're not too sure either.
What is for sure is that super intelligent dinosaurs evolved from Earth and traveled across the galaxy, according to an episode of Voyager.
Oh, was that Voyager? Why did I think it was Enterprise?
No, well, I don't know.
No, you're
But
right.
there
It
are,
is Voyager.
yeah, Dr. Triceratops and Voyager.
I think I really like
thanks.
that episode too.
I'm okay with it. Although it is sad. The episode is sad.
Exactly.
Oh, I wonder if Sargon's people were the ones to retrieve the dinosaurs. Anyway.
And apparently, I did like that it was open-ended like that, but when I didn't realize that it was written that way because of how controversial that idea was, biblically, I guess.
Well, and they do make specific reference saying, perhaps your Adam and Eve were one of our people. Or
Exactly.
2 of our people.
But they leave it in there, and I'm glad they don't censor it too much. And so then, of course, we get the part where Sargon takes over Captain Kirk's body.
Yes. With
And one of
the
my favorite
classic
moments.
shoulder or elbows into the sides of his torso to show the extreme pain.
For
or
sure.
jar to his system.
Nobody is harmed more by being possessed in this episode than Captain Kirk.
Yes.
But one of the moments that I love here is McCoy's instinct. Normally he's not violent, but he sees his captains in danger.
Yeah.
And I won't go along with this. Because he is the heart. And Spock has to talk him down with logic.
Well, and I don't know, maybe it's just the presence of Diana Muldaur that's making it so Next Generation heavy, but that also reminded me of Encounter at Farpoint when Worf grabs like a Type 1 phaser and he's going to blast the image of Q on the view screen. And Picard's like, what were you planning on doing, Mr. Worf? Blowing a hole in the view screen? Like, what are you doing? You're going to punch the TV because you don't like the pictures?
Yeah, see, that is a great moment. That is, I'm glad you found that parallel. There could be something to that. This could be an episode that the Next Generation producers really looked at, because I see so much of it in it.
Well, and I'm trying to remember if this was, because I know on the 25th anniversary, they did a celebration, like a marathon on certain television channels doing the top 10 or the top 25 episodes of the original series. And this one comes up, I think, but I find it primarily, it is very thought-provoking. It's very cerebral, as Star Trek was not accused of being, but observed as being.
It is sometimes.
But it is like, risk is our business. This is sort of aside from space, the final frontier, these are the voyages. That is the thesis of Star Trek. Risk is our business.
It is, exactly. That's why I love this episode so much, because it brought that full circle, the beginning of the title theme, the final frontier. And James Caserta says that the guy who wrote this didn't get the credit he deserved. John Dugan, I think he did get the credit he deserved because he was nominated by the Writers Guild. I think that's pretty good credit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
It depends on where your assessment of the episode is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't avoid the fact that this is a load-bearing episode of Star Trek. I can't get around it. Even though I may be a little tepid on it, there are still spikes in it that
Yeah,
are
no, you're not
great.
alone. You're not alone that you're tepid on it. I've heard other people feel that way too, and I can't get behind it. I can't feel tepid about it. I love it. Like you said, it's cerebral, and I don't know but it's not. It has some kind of balance to it that I think is pretty good. Members only today. Thanks, Anti-Derivative Jill. Yeah, so it's members only stream. Woo. Well, I got some members of your channel here, Bird Break 5 here, like Jack Stafford. Mark Harkness says, an immortal security guard would have been a problem for Sargon's plan if Hanok had taken Mr. Leslie's body. Susan Dolan says, the making of Star Trek does have a small picture of the Enterprise in it. I can't remember if it was firing phasers. And Franco Walker says, I like Raymond Burr. He was also a judge.
Oh, the judge in Airplane 2? Good call, yo. I forgot about
Raymond
that.
Burr was not in the Star Trek episode, but somebody looks like him in it.
Yes. So you can hear all about it next week on our new podcast, The Raymond Burr Chronicles.
After half a million years.
But that is funny, Mark Harkness. Raymond Burr as reporter Steve Martin. Too bad modern American Godzilla doesn't have the nerve to cast Steve Martin as retired news reporter R. Burr.
Oh, and Sean Carter says, if you want to show it, I sent you the private link for the video uploaded to my channel. Yeah, I do. I'm going to upload it to my channel, though. And I don't know if I'll have time to show it today because it is 4 minutes or something. And I got to use all my time wisely because I already lost 15 earlier. So if I have time at the end, I'll play it. See.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
Kronos is here.
Hey, Sargon. Hey, Kronos. I do appreciate that both Kirk and Spock, when they are possessed, these are great bodies, Doctor. Good work. They're both admiring the test drive of the car that they're in control of.
Hey, hello to Sub Commander Tall. In addition to Kirk Fu, here we see Kirk Yoga.
Yes.
Hey, that's a good point. I've never noticed that. Susan Dolan says the chain of command on the Enterprise bridge goes Captain Kirk, First Officer Spock, Chief Engineer Scott, Helmsman Lieutenant Sulu, and finally Chief Communications Lieutenant Uhura. Thank you, Susan Dolan. Yes, in the Bible it puts Uhura as fourth, but that's never really adhered to until the animated series. But as seen on screen, your list is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I really love when Scotty is in command on the bridge, because we get to see more of her in second command there. I like to think. Sub-Commander Tall says, this is an entertaining episode. Nimoy is deliciously smarmy and evil as Hanok. Also, the iconic speech. I do find the music a little stodgy. And the ending is rushed. But I always like it.
Yeah, the ending is sort of like, we have too much power. Let us end our existence.
Well, I like that, though. It's like,
all right.
Okay, I'm too powerful for you. If I hang out with you, I'm only going to hurt you. And it's just not going to work out. It's like when it's like TNG again. When Q, there's that lady Q. She's a young lady. She's thought she was human her whole life. Suddenly she realizes she's a Q, and she can't help not using her powers to help people. And so she cannot stay among humanity for that reason.
I forgot about that one.
And of course,
rewatch
that kind of power can can cause disaster if allowed to just roam about unhindered. James Caserta says, I think someone lives down the street from me. Across the street, too. Oh. And Kronos says, instead of I am Sargon, he says,
I am Bird of Prey 5.
I was hoping you would pick it up.
Kronos is going to hell for that one, apparently.
Jill and panel are overloading. Are we overloading? Are we okay? Writer Robert Block wanted to have Ahura take command in Catspaw, but it ended up being the Sal. Yeah, I was so mad about that. It's like, the Sal? Who's this guy? Krill.
I'll be right back. I've got to take a phone call.
Okay.
Cheers.
Understood. See you in a minute.
Hey, Stark of Iron.
Hello, Stark of Iron. Okay, I'm going to bounce off of this. So, Sargon's obviously thrilled to have corporeal form. And the 365 book has something to say about this performance by Shatner.
Nothing but big ups and celebrations.
Okay, so Sargon says, your captain has an excellent body, Dr. McCoy. I compliment you both on the condition in which you maintain it. Much has been written about William Shatner's acting style, the tortured physical mannerisms, the hurried, almost urgent phrasing, the unexpected pauses. The style, unique among actors, is evidenced by countless instantly recognizable imitations, had an auspicious beginning. As a young, hopeful thespian in the Stratford Shakespeare Festival at Ontario, Canada, Shatner held the position of understudy in the Bard's Henry V. One evening, with only a few hours' notice and no rehearsal time, he found himself on the stage playing the lead role. His pauses that night were inadvertent. He was struggling to recall the difficult dialogue. But following the performance, critics and audience members alike praised the newcomer for his passionate portrayal of the king. The young actor apparently recognized a good thing when he saw it, and he systematically modified the technique into the style that has kept him in the spotlight for half a century.
Well, and it again, with William Shatner having such a sort of, like, he has such an incredible long career, and it was mocked at first in terms of his delivery. I always thought it was sort of him pondering what he was going to say. It was more natural than anything in my mind.
Yeah, it works for me because it gives a more natural feeling to what he's saying, as if he's actually thinking about it first.
Mm-hmm. In which case, with his understudy role, he was thinking about it because he had forgotten all the lines.
True enough. So they head to the inner chamber. This reminds me, later on in Futurama, you get heads in jars just sitting on the shelf, waiting to be discovered. His wife, Thalassa, is the only one glowing on the lower tier. And then at the top we have Henoch, the other side of the conflict. So these two... So this species, they had a war, and Henoch was on the opposing side of the war, and they decided to get together with their enemies to build a better future or something.
Or something.
Or something. But of course, they just ended up all in these ping pong balls on a shelf.
Yes.
With Sargon sending his energy out into the universe until he could find somebody to pass by. And finally, Captain Kirk did.
Just want to say hi to Jim's Landscape and Snortopoopus. Poopus is here.
Oh, hello, Jim's Landscape and Snortopoopus. Great to see you guys. And so Sargon wants their bodies. just long enough. So this was another part where they had a dramatic commercial break. We need your bodies, but then you come back and you're like, we just need them for a little while just to make a robot. It's gonna be fun. But that doesn't stop Dr. Mulhall from saying,
so you could steal our bodies from us?
So Sargon knew that his children or somebody would go to the stars one day and find them. And finally they did. And he said we have Snortopupus and Jim's landscape here.
Mm-hmm.
Stark of Iron, Star Scream, says Sean Carter. Corona says that's a different show.
But that's a different guy.
Mark Harkness says, ironically, the Her versus Sulu in the chain of command. Note that WNM.
Where no man has gone before?
Oh. Sulu is doing a turn in the sciences where Carbonite Maneuver Hera wears command gold. Yes, that's true. He was like in Astro something in the first episode.
Yeah, chief astrophysicist.
I think he has a second comment coming up that goes along with that isn't here yet. So I'll wait into that statement. So let's see here. Krona says, peeps want my body for only a little bit of time? Yeah, just for a minute, just so I can build a robot. And then I'll leave your body, and you can have your body back, and I'll be in a robot. Sounds fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, nothing bad could happen.
No possible ramifications for that. Jim says, hail Jill, Scotty, and Puck. Hello, Jim.
Hey.
And hello to Peter Ryder, Captain Finity, who says, damn it, Jim.
Finity?
Yeah. Anyone see my morning show? Oh, you had a morning show.
Nice.
Corona says I could last for at least a minute. Maybe.
Being in someone else's body?
I guess so. That's what he's saying. So the Lisa. Okay, so they're only Sargon is within Kirk, but Kirk is burning up. He's got fever.
He's got a fever, and the only thing that could cure it is more cowbell.
Oh, there's Spock's second fascinating. He has two fascinatings in this episode. I was getting excited at that point, wondering if there was going to be a third one, but there wasn't.
Spock's very contemplative before he's taken over by Hanok, with the possibilities of scientific discovery through these creatures, and I like it. He's in deep thought, especially around the conference table when Kirk is giving his speech.
Well, and yes, and also the doctor is also. She also reflects that. Dr. Mulhall also feels that way too, in terms of being a scientist. So they reflect each other on that note.
Although, Dr. Mulhall seems to be reassured when Kirk says that he understands and knows Sargon, and sort of believes in his motivations. And then once Kirk says that, then Mulhall seems a little bit more put at ease with the entire proposition.
And that occurs when Kirk says we were one at one point, and so he understands exactly what Sargon's intentions are and that they are not malicious, and that's why he wants to go through with this.
And I do like that McCoy is the last holdout.
He is. That's my favorite part. And we'll get in there in a second here. It's just that Sargon has to give Kirk his body back for this moment. Otherwise, he's going to die. So they take him back.
Well, and here we are. Wow. I thought that was an interesting choice.
The Kirk yoga? Is this the Kirk yoga that Sub Commander Call is talking about?
It looks like. But it's funny because when they're having the conversation and Sargon in Kirk looks fine, and then it cuts to McCoy who says his metabolic rate, his heartbeat so fast, and then they cut back and all of a sudden just dripping sweat is Shatner.
Yeah, he's totally fine. He doesn't look so fine. They really play that up, how sweaty he looks. It looks great in terms of making me think, oh man, this guy's gonna burst. For an instant, we were one. And I know him now. I know what he is and I know what he wants. And I don't fear him. But McCoy's like, an alien practically hijacks your body and then quirks you into a bottle.
And then Mulhall with her concerns with the false feeling of euphoria. You've just been taken over. Maybe those are residual to make you feel that way.
Right. And that's a good point. Like, someone wants to possess your body, they will give you back control. They're going to make you feel good about it. And there's something in Rick and Morty that reminds me of that, but I'm going to leave that out of here.
Pickle Rick?
No, it was actually another godlike entity. It was a cloud-based being who had like this song, and he was making Morty feel at ease. But really, this thing was going to destroy the universe.
Oh,
it was fun. If I've ever sent you goodbye, Moon Men, that's what that's from. So here's the briefing room on the Enterprise. And
to make android robots? Isn't that redundant? Isn't that
not
sort of
really,
like saying,
because robots are just robots. They could be anything. You could have a robot that's just building a car that looks nothing like a human. To say android is saying you're making something that is human-like or humanoid.
I stand corrected.
So it isn't redundant.
Okay. Perfect.
But I do love this meeting. This is a wonderful meeting. Obviously. Anyone, even people who think that this is a middling episode, love this part.
Yes.
Because this part, of course, is written by Gene Roddenberry, and it is written pretty well. And they're meeting to decide whether to help these beings who are so far advanced that I guess they could also help humanity advance too, since Sargon does seem interested in teaching. Later on, we don't learn that now, but we learn it later. But I have to mention it now. Otherwise, what I'm saying makes sense. If they think of them as their children and they want to teach them this, later Sargon confirms this. He wants to make sure their children don't make the same mistakes he did. And this is the first time a godlike species didn't say, oh, hi, we're here now, or we did this thing, and this is why we did that, and we'd like to stay and chat, but we really have to get going. So be good now. This is the first time the godlike entity needs the help of the Enterprise. And that's what's so cool about it to me.
Mm-hmm. I like how the potential, the possibilities. Everybody's just sort of looking at it like Christmas morning. Do you have any idea how much stuff we could get if we do this?
An engine the size of a walnut.
Surely you're joking.
And McCoy bringing it down to Earth. They're giants, and we're insects beside them. And so since he is the most dissenting vote, it is wonderful that he is the one who is the deciding vote. And we do get the idea that Captain Kirk is in command and he can make this decision by himself, but he wants consensus. And that's something that is a very heavy Next Generation theme. They use it a lot, but it's used sparingly in TOS.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of staff meetings where there has to be a unanimous sort of agreement.
No, and this is one of the few.
Mm-hmm.
There's She's a scientist and she wants to do this. The opportunity is extraordinary for experimentation observation. And Kirk says, Bones, you can stop all this by saying no. And of course, we get to the speech, the risk speech. And oh man, should I have you read it? Let's see.
How long is it? Heavens.
It's not too long, I don't think. Let me see. Well,
I'd be happy to perform.
It's too long for me to post the entire thing. I only have bits of it. Yeah.
Well, don't we have? And we do.
Should I
have
play
the clips,
Kirk first or you first? Because I have bits of it.
Go Kirk first.
Okay. So I have a few bits of it here.
They used to say if man could fly, he'd have wings.
Did that one play?
But he did fly. He discovered he had to.
Upon a star.
Do you wish that the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon? Or that we hadn't gone on to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's right.
It doesn't really work broken up like this. But I couldn't put it all together because I know I'd get a claim on it.
I'm in command.
Mm-hmm.
I could order this. Risk is our business.
And so then I'll put the whole thing in the private chat for you. It'll sound a lot better altogether.
Well, I would recommend going back and checking out the episode because it is. It's
well, it'll sound even better listening to the episode. But barring that.
All right. They used to say if man could fly, he'd have wings. But he did fly. He discovered he had to. Do you wish that the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon? Or that we hadn't gone to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's like saying that you wish you still operated with scalpels and sewed your patients up with catgut like your great grandfather used to. I'm in command. I could order this, but I'm not, because Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential in any contact with life, and intelligence is fantastically advanced as this. But I must point out that the possibilities, the potential for knowledge and advancement are equally great. Risk is our business. That's what the starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her. You may dissent without prejudice. Do I hear a negative vote? Crickets. Engineers, stand by to beam aboard 3 receptacles. That was fun, but I don't think I did it justice.
Fun part is what we're here for. And the 365 book has something about this part. Let's see. It says, when asked why he climbed Mount Everest, George Mallory, the 1920s British mountaineer who died on his 3rd attempt at conquering the peak, supposedly answered, because it's there. While that's a clever retort, it's not a satisfactory answer to the broader question implicit in the reporter's query. Why does man bother to do difficult things? The answer to that would require more seriousness, more philosophy, more insight. It's a question that was posed regularly on Star Trek, but never as poignantly as in the episode Return to Tomorrow. Given the opportunity to participate in a questionable scientific endeavor, the Enterprise crew gathered to go over the pros and cons. Their discussion resulted in what may well be James T. Kirk's greatest speech, one that encompasses the philosophy of Starfleet, the 5-year mission, and the series itself. There we go.
I'm more of an e-plabnista kind of speech guy. That's my jam.
We'll get there.
We will. The comms and the yangs. If you'll just excuse me for 1 minute, Jill.
Sure, you may.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need to go through the chat anyway. Oh, the extreme power of the alien mind will drive the heart. Action dangerously high. So yes, McCoy's paying very careful attention. Snorapoopas Cuber says people want my body for a bearskin rug. Oh no, don't let them have it for that. Mark Harkness gives us the second note he had. So early on, Uhura would have had command seniority slowly overtaken by Sulu, as Uhura decided on a technical field. But in the Lorelei signal, Sulu could have been compromised just as well as Scotty. And yes, that is exactly what happens. All of the men in the Lorelei signal are incapacitated, and Uhura is the only one who could save them all. And she does. She commands the rest of the ladies on the ship, and it is a lot of fun. Phasers and everything. Sean Carter says, dropped a like before but forgot to comment. I have remedied that error. Oh, nice. Isn't Fever a disco song, says Kronos? I don't know. Stark of Iron says, worked hard on it. Should have a supply cache. And another video done by the weekend. Oh, great work, Stark of Iron. Jack Stafford says, so basically what they did for Picard, fake android body. Yeah, except, it's like what little girls are made of. So yeah, like Roger Corby. So I'd like to make a reference to real Star Trek. So yeah, they're both correct. Yes. Cronus says, I am Scotty Doo. But the thing is, these robots won't have the feeling, and in STP, it's like it's indistinct. The android bodies are indistinguishable from humans, and so I think it's a really cheap way to portray an android. Is to just say they're basically human. But I don't want to talk about that show. Chronos says cats can cluster. This is true. Kronos asks, can I say kinky here? Yes. You can. Peter Ryder Captain Infinity tests this notion and says kinky. Yep, you can say it. What is a pickle Rick? Well, it's what Rick does when he doesn't want to go to therapy. How come I can say kinky, says Peter Captain. Well, I wouldn't say you can't. It's not a bad word. Reply to your comment as well, Scotty R37. Snortapoopus Cuber says Risk. Risk is our favorite board game. That is what this starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her. Are they kinky androids? Well, according to the original script, Henok, is that how I say it? Henok? It was supposed to be a lot kinkier than he's written here. So he would have been if he decided to actually be an android. But he never got that far. Because he didn't want to be an android. He wanted Spock's body. Susan Dolan says, yes, they can. I have 8 eating on my porch at 5:30 a.m. every morning. Oh, cats, clustering. Yes, they do cluster when there's food. That makes sense. Mark Harkness says, Sargon really distrusted Henok so much that he didn't even want Henok in an android body. Otherwise, XO3 would have been a suggestion from Kirk. Neither Kirk or Sargon suggests that. Oh, an uninhabited planet, XO3. Interesting. Oh, the planet from What Little Girls Are Made Of. Oh, great reference. Thank you, Mark Harkness. Hey, that is an idea. That is not a bad idea. Franco Walker says no one can say kinky. Kinky is out, says Franco Walker. And Susan Dolan's going to ask Dragon Lady if some of the 10,000 Imiotols could get Stark Tech updates on their armor. What? Franco Walker says, no, Peter, no kinky at all to be mentioned. The word kinky is far too sexy to be used. And hello to Darius Munchausen. Hey guys, how are you guys doing? And Franco Walker says it wasn't the first Apollo mission. Well, okay, so hold on just a moment. Well, yes, you're correct. But the reason why Star Trek doesn't get that exactly right is because they haven't gone to the moon yet. They haven't actually done these missions yet. They just know that that's what the mission is going to be called. And so I know that as the writing of this episode, we haven't landed on the moon yet. Kirk is just talking about the near future. And so let's see. The first test was done in 1961. Okay, so definitely not the first mission. There are several missions for sure. But he specifically should be mentioning the first mission to the moon. That's what it would be. Which of course is Apollo 11. And that's really cool because this is what NASA was really up to. And this is the second time we get a reference to the Apollo moon program in Star Trek after the Tomorrow is Yesterday. So this episode was made a year and a half before the actual moon landing.
Well, and as a point of contention, I always thought it was the first Apollo mission that reached the moon.
Yeah, that's
Not
what I said.
necessarily. Cool.
Like a minute ago.
Oh, I missed it. I was going to say, what did I miss? That specifically.
That specifically, I said that. So okay. I'm so glad we're on the same page there.
Mm-hmm.
Franco Walker says, Peter, definitely. And where can I buy one? Wait, buy what? What did I miss? So is kinky robot synonymous with redundant sexy android?
What was that? Oh, Andrea. Roger Corby's little lady. And then there's Raina later on. She's an android.
Jack Safford says, we will not go quietly into the night. Oh, and Starpoopus Cuber made a great, clever comment about Risk, the board game. And I read it as Captain Kirk. That's good.
Oh, nice.
Your great sister's cousin's daughter's youngest stepsister's dog's best friend? What does that make me?
Absolutely
and Peter
nothing.
He says, well, folks, much as I'd like to stay, I gotta go. He's gotta go. We'll see you later, Peter Captainfinity. Have so much fun.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to see a naked Wookiee, says Kronos. Yeah, or a naked polar bear. Okay. So, I don't know. I haven't seen your video yet, Stark of Iron. I'll check it out. Darius Munchausen says, kinky androids are my favorite kind. Well, China. All right.
Hey, Darius. I'm glad we are allowed to say kinky.
Yeah, I said it like 8 times. Thanks,
nice.
Kronos. Jack Stafford says, I think it's semantics, but he didn't say Apollo 1. He says the first Apollo mission without naming which mission. Yeah, what you both just said. Yeah, at least if he did say Apollo 1, then it would have been a more egregious mistake. Definitely. Woohoo! says Kronos. It wasn't just a random woohoo for no reason. I was reading.
And yeah, so here we have Henoch completely taking control of Spock with no intentions of returning.
And very happy to see Nurse Chapel.
Yes.
Which
Well, and I
must
bet
be messing
she's-
with Nurse Chapel's brain a bit. Because she's in love
Of
with
course. Now, as a Spock fan, as we know you are, how did you feel about happy emotional Spock?
Well,
Although it's not really
since-
Spock, but
Right, exactly. Since it's not really Spock, I'm totally fine with it. I think it is pretty great. It's a little bit disconcerting, but Nimoy seems to be having so much fun with this role that I don't mind.
yeah.
I don't mind
Oh,
seeing
he's
him
having a
doing
blast.
something new, and he's enjoying it. So I am too. I think in the original script he was supposed to also be a glutton, in addition to being a sexual deviant. Both those things were cut, but
Okay.
it would have been funny to see Spock just gorging on some food cubes or whatever. So it is pretty cool to see him as a villain instead of his normal self. And that's the same with Captain Kirk. We get to see him as a benevolent over being or something, whatever he is. And Diana Mulder also does a great job of playing two roles differently. She plays the Doctor completely differently from the way she plays Thalassa.
Well, yeah, and Thalassa has far more personality than Dr. Mulhall.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mulhall was just there to do her job, and she did. And she's like, now I'm curious about what's going to go on here. And so she allows this to occur, and we get to meet Thalassa. Oh, and then we get a medical log. It's by McCoy. Stardate 4770.3. Oh, wait. We're not there yet, though. So, because I skipped my notes to get to how I felt about Spock. So we're not actually at the medical log yet. Oops. Where was I then? I'm not actually that far off. There's the.
You are a lovely female.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I love the way that Thalassa enters humanity again. She's just taken by breathing.
And looking about for Sargon.
Mm-hmm. She finds him. And they
must be like falling in love all over again.
Yeah, it's a reunion.
Hey, Phantom Boomer is here.
And
Boomer.
she says it's not much different from your original body. So he was corporeal before he became pure energy at some point. Sternopoopas Cuber says the initial planning for the Apollo flights was disrupted by the Apollo 1 fire. They had to figure out what went wrong and redesign the system.
Yes. And what? Oh, horny spork.
And that's the only time it makes sense. When he's possessed or otherwise his abilities are compromised. Jack Stafford says Spock is suddenly less aloof and unattainable, so she instantly loses interest. Right? Kronos says, peeps need notes here? Yeah, I have a few. Phantom Boomer Explorers says, hello, Jill, Scotimus, and Pop. Then Starpoopus continues, I suspect Apollo 1 was meant to be used for an orbital test flight. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I didn't read the whole thing. I can't see it for some reason.
Oh.
StreamYard is acting weird.
Pupus says, I suspect Apollo 1 was meant to be used for an orbital test flight, and Apollo 7 was the first flight of the Block 2 CSM in Earth orbit.
Thank you.
CSM, is that Command Space Module?
That sounds right. But you asked a question, so now I need to find out.
Customer service mechanism? Capital stationary moment.
Okay, so they have acronyms here.
Control of the
CSM.
Sega Master System.
Customer satisfaction metrics or communication systems monitor and control.
Nice. Again, just I do appreciate the reference to the real life space program as well.
Me too. And there's the reunion. And that's how they perceive their bodies, is exploring each other and their love. But Hanok is just excited to be in. He thinks, I got the best body of all three.
Well, and I do get the sense that he's somewhat jealous of Thalassa and Sargon's relationship as well.
And yeah, that was in the original script.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he is jealous. He wants Thalassa, and it's not put in this script at all. It's taken out pretty much. Vulcan. Oh yeah,
yes.
I like that. I'm surprised the Vulcans never conquered your race. That's funny. Vulcans worship peace above all, Hanok.
Of course, just as we do, aside from that one interplanetary war that destroyed our people. We worship peace.
But it turns out only Spock can handle the higher metabolism. So they need a formula for the human vessels. And Chapel's going to help Hanok.
Well, and again, it's the I guess Dr. Mohal would be also put at ease by Thalassa, just because at this point her intentions are true, and she hasn't been tempted by the sensuality of the bodies.
And apparently the names of these characters are from Greek mythology. It says Thalassa was a sea goddess, and Assyrian and Mesopotamian kings were named Sargon. And in the Bible, the name Hanok appears several times, including as the father of Methuselah.
Oh, I hear that Methuselah had a requiem.
Yeah. The name of the planet itself, Eret, is Terra backwards.
Ooh.
And it's never mentioned on screen. So
Hanok just gets straight to work on sabotaging the entire situation.
And he's so arrogant. He's so full of himself. He thinks I'm super powerful and awesome that I can just tell you my plan and everything's going to be fine. Because I have not only my own mental abilities, but also Spock's mental abilities. And together I can trick you and control your mind. And he's telling he's basically telling Chapel, yeah, I'm gonna murder Sargon, but you're not gonna remember it. You're gonna forget. And so that's why I love these three different godlike beings. One is benevolent, one is evil, and one is somewhere in between. And that's, of course, Thalassa.
Just an update. I'm still here, but I'm on hold with my medical provider, and I have it muted so you guys don't have to listen to the horrible droning music.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to hear the music, but I do want to hear from you. If you have something you want to add at any point, I don't mind.
I know. It's just that if I have to listen for when they pick up hold, I'm on hold.
That makes
I'm
sense.
sorry about that.
But if we get to the points with the bloopers that you want to play, you could put those in when you think it's appropriate.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I'm sure you know the keys for that. But if you have something to say, I don't mind hearing the music just for a moment, because I want to know what you think about this episode.
Well, don't you think it's a little bit of a folly that that Sargon relinquishes the most powerful body? He's obviously like knowledgeable enough to know that Spock is the one who would be able to last the longest. Why wouldn't he? Because then there'd be no show, Scott. But
yeah, exactly. But also he's the leader, and so he takes the body of the leader of the starship.
Yes.
Mark Harkness says, the crew of Apollo 8 reported they were sorely tempted to report large black monolith on the far side of the moon.
Yeah, 2001 is an amazing movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like 2001.
I put the bloopers up. You can play whenever you want, Jill.
Awesome. Okay. What scene does it start at?
Well, a scene that we passed when they were in the room with the globes down inside the planet.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of a few that there's like 3 scenes, I think, total edited together.
Neat. I think I'll play them. I'll play them in just a minute. Thank you so much.
No hurry.
Does Canada have a space program?
No, we only have an arm. We made an arm. That was our contribution.
Arm?
And yes, the Canadarm. It was used in many extravehicular activities in orbit.
What is that disembodied voice? Did Sargon take over the stream? When did that happen? What's going on? Macrona says, I'm Snoots.
Snoots.
I don't think they knew whose body they would get, says James Caserta. We were building our... I would think they would choose which body, but okay. But I think I'll play the bloopers now.
Yay!
Wow, Spock is mind controlling Chapel.
Jim? I'm fine, boss. Are you all right?
David, please.
Oh, that's awesome. I do love seeing people have a good time at work when they're people pretending to do jobs. 'Tis great, I tells yous.
Blooper, there was supposed to be a blooper where Captain Kirk says, never fear, Sargon is here.
Oh, really? That'd be cool.
Oh, I'll see if I can find it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's the one I was, yeah, if you can. If you can't, it's okay. But that was cute, though. I thought that was funny, just to read about it.
So I guess the intention here is that Spock's in constant control of Chapel, because even after he does the little forehead touch, he's just
well, and she's acting funny the entire time too.
Yeah, and he continues to just monologue his evil plan.
He does. It is therefore necessary for you to kill your captain so that Sargon will die with him. just it's matter of fact. It just has to happen this way. No problem. Okay, so here's the medical log. The one I meant from earlier.
Right.
Medical log, stardate 4770.3. Do I list one death or two? When Kirk's body died, Sargon was too far distant from his receptacle to transfer back. So So I missed that part where Kirk dies.
Kirk doesn't die yet, though. Not for a little
No?
bit.
Then why does he say that? Oh, this is a different medical log.
I think there are two, yeah.
4769.1. 3 alien minds now inhabit the bodies of Captain Kirk, Science Officer Spock, and Dr. Ann Mulhall. As planned, the construction of the android robots is underway. Oh, okay. That's that one then. All is proceeding as expected, and as promised, I can find no reason for concern, but yet I'm filled with foreboding. And yeah, that makes sense because Kirk is going to die, sort of. So, in a science laboratory, Kirk and Mulhall, or Sargon and Thalassa, are working on the android bodies. And they're talking about the old times, and they're getting real romantic. Hannock comes in to disrupt, I guess.
Well, and also makes Sargon feel self-conscious about indulging in such corporeal pleasures.
Yeah, and he's picking on him, saying, well, with the robot, you're not going to have this feeling. Enjoy the taste of life while you can. And Sargon talks about the good he wants to do in the android body. He wants to help his children not make the same errors he did, or the species in general did.
If you think about it, they could just go anywhere they want because they can communicate through the receptacles. They don't necessarily need these bodies. It seems like they want them, but it's not. Once they've achieved contact with
They have to have some.
Enterprise,
They have to put some. They have to put themselves into something. Like those spheres, somehow something in it contains them. But it doesn't have to be right. So
like if you think of the way that like Nomad
exactly,
moved
they
around.
could definitely inhabit a space probe. They can get into the computer, but that spoils the end of the episode where Sargon goes into the ship's computer. So they do need a receptacle of some sort. It just has to have something to process their brain power. And in this case, they're able to transfer into humans and Vulcans and the Enterprise. So what are fit vessels for these beings? But then why can they travel around the universe in the last episode with nothing? Is a good question. Sure. You would think they'd just be able to float around. We would need to ask John that question. It's a good question for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and Franco reminds us in the chat. Don't forget the poll.
And McCoy noticed there's something wrong with Chapel. He tries to relieve her, but she's like, I'm fine. I'm just so happy everything is going so well with the patients.
All of these formulas are exactly the same and beneficial.
They are working perfectly.
How are you?
And Scotty trying to tell her this android body is not going to work. You don't have any way to move the muscles the right way that I know how muscles move. And she's like, oh no, that you need micro gears and some form of pulley to do what a muscle does. But she says that would be highly inefficient. I tell you, lady, this thing won't work.
And then Hennock being all smug.
Mm-hmm. He is. I think this is a GIF or something. I've seen this around the internet quite a bit.
And to see Spock walking around, yeah, seeing Spock, like Leonard Nimoy, wander around with a smile on his face, being so casual and stuff. Great differentiation between the characters, but it almost looks like a blooper. It's like, that's not supposed to happen. He's not supposed to smile.
Exactly. Without the context, it looks wrong. And so he's trying to convince the Lisa that she doesn't want to be in an android body. You're going to be in an android body for 1,000 years, and you're going to get another one, and you're not going to feel anything, and you're not going to live. This is the closest they get to him getting close to her. But he's just trying to get her to want to live, to feel, which is something that you won't be able to do with the android body they are constructed. But at this point, it doesn't work. But he'll succeed later. Don't worry. We'll get there in just a minute. Oh, speaking of which, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not late yet.
No, you're still good. You still got plenty of time.
I do. And they're saying that eventually the human bodies will be able to keep up with the metabolism changes after months or years, but Sargon's like, we can't keep these bodies. So but don't torment yourself with all of the physical love. And he's trying to say, as the robots, their thoughts will still be able to intertwine. She's like, but will they be able to intertwine like this? And so I think Kirk kisses Diana Mulder 3 times during this episode. This is the second. Yeah, this is the second time.
And then and the effects of the formula seem to be affecting. Stop injecting him! You're killing him. Oh yeah, he's dead. This is when he's dead. Not a good
formula. Oh, this is when he's dead. Okay, so this is the medical log where he's died. So let me go back up to the part where he's dead.
Well, and again, this is another commercial.
One death or 2?
Yeah.
Oh, but this is a good one though, because Kirk's dead. Do I list 1 death or 2? When Kirk's body died, Sargon was too far distant from his receptacle to transfer back. Sargon is dead, but is Captain Kirk dead? His body is, but his consciousness is still in the receptacle into which it was transferred earlier.
Well, and it does seem like a commercial break sort of cliffhanger where it's like, he's dead. Yeah. And it's like, okay, no, he's not. Remember that thing I just said? Never mind, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then we get Cindy Lou. Well, she's just called Nurse, but her real name is Cindy Lou. She says, all his vital organs are now working, doctor.
Cindy Lou who?
Yeah, I know. That's what I think of too.
All right.
For some reason. Yeah. Yeah, that's her only line in this episode, but I wanted to note her name.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I never noticed that one before. Is that, again, with the nursing staff, instead of having the sciences logo in the Starfleet Delta, it's another one of the red crosses. Consistency with the uniform, which is delightful. And we have the foot pedals in the background that are only used once and never seen again.
Foot pedals. Wait, oh, they don't ever have another physical in Star Trek?
Do they use the foot pedals?
I don't know. You're the expert here.
I'm the foot pedal expert.
Yes.
If there are no follow-up questions.
All his vital organs are now working, Doctor.
That's great. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just having fun now.
Well, good.
I wanted to actually add that clip, but I didn't. So I added it on the fly. And there's the male android body. And this is obviously a real person. A real person is playing the android Who is it? He has a name. William Blackburn is
Really?
playing the android that is meant for Sargon's wife. Even though it's a male, Spock says he's going to give it some female features later. But couldn't to it now. It's totally fine, right?
Yeah, but it's all like if they don't have sort of the senses, like physical touch, I mean, then
Yeah.
why would you have to gender the body at all, really? Aside from aesthetics, I suppose.
Well, if you spent your whole life that way, then you'd at least want to have an illusion
I suppose,
of
yes.
it. Possibly. Blackburn told about his experience with this episode. Because of his latex and android makeup, he couldn't eat or drink during the 12-hour shooting day, and he had to consume things through a straw. That reminds me of Odo. Odo often had to, Rene Auberginois had to often eat through a straw too. The white blank eyes of the android, they got that by, what did he do?
More painful contact lenses?
He simply was moving and holding his eyeballs. What? Upwards.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he just rolled his eyes? That's so funny. That's incredible.
That
That's
would
some
be a
talent.
pain.
And so she is sufficiently icked out by it. She doesn't want to go into that android. So Hennock's evil plan to convince the Lisa that it's better to keep her body works this time.
Well, yeah, I guess it is a good question. Why would you even pretend to work on the body if you're not intending to use it?
Because it's for you. Aren't you ready to hop right in? Water's fine. I cannot live in that thing. And so she tries to make a deal. She's trying to bargain with McCoy because she has a very... she's like, hey, just pretend I am Dr. Mulhall. And it'll be our little secret. And if you do that for me, I'll save your captain. And isn't it worth your captain's life for me to keep this body? It's not a big deal. But, of course, McCoy has the best line for that ever. For that particular reasoning.
I will not peddle flesh. I'm a physician.
A physician? In contrast to what we are, you are a prancing, savage medicine man. You dare defy one? You should be on your knees worshiping. I could destroy you with a single thought.
Well, and I did appreciate
and then she tries.
The remastered special effect for this. And again, just in terms of the remastered special effects being very true to the originals. And I thought this was great. Although there is an aura around McCoy, whereas it was just sort of the fluttering pink pain.
Oh, well, I'll look on that, the original. I'll look at the original then. I think this is the only part of the episode that has that. Something significant with the special effects, right?
Yes, everything else is just the planet and flybys, I think.
I think so too. I was wondering if there was something significant. Yes, there's a visual effects comparison here. Let's see if I can get to that part. Because we're close to the end of the episode. So here's, yeah, right here. Oh. Let me share this, stop sharing this, and start sharing this.
Here we go.
That seems close enough.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. And so it does get a little bit more with the aura around McCoy. It's cool. But again, like it's not taken away from anything. It's just sort of accentuating it, which is why I really
it
enjoy
just
the
adds.
remasters.
It looks. I was expecting a much more stark difference, and there wasn't. It
Mhm.
looks pretty much the same, just with a little more detail. Not bad.
It always takes me. I enjoyed these episodes when I was a kid, and when I watch them now, and I just consider without special effects, without music, and just DeForest Kelly being on set and like, okay, we don't want you to fall down, just writhe in agony. All right, good.
Yeah, and Mohal sees the pain that she's inflicting as Thalisa. She says, "Stop," and so she stops her powers. Sargon was right. The temptation within a living body are too great. Forgive me. And that's what Sargon's like. Ha! I wasn't dead this whole time. I'm totally fine. It's good you found the truth yourself.
I'm wondering how far Sargon would have let Thalacia go with that. Thalacia,
Yeah, I
you
don't
killed the
know.
doctor. How dare you?
Now you see what your powers can rot when you do not control yourself. I have no idea. But in this case, she did the right thing, and Sargon has a plan. And McCoy can't get in. The door is sealed. Until Chapel just exits. She's on some kind of mission. Where is she going?
Oh, hang on. You're still on the return to tomorrow visual effects comparison. If you wanted to go back to slides.
I am. You're right. But it's okay. We didn't miss too much.
No.
We're good to go from there. From Nurse Chapel on her mission, and McCoy checking out the receptacles that are supposed to contain his friends. They're all charred and burned out and completely destroyed.
I'm assuming phasered.
Mm-hmm. And so McCoy assumes that Spock's mind has been destroyed also. But it hasn't been, so don't worry, guys.
Don't worry.
And so the reason why they have to undertake this deception that Spock's mind is gone forever is so that Hanok will believe it too. And so that Hanok will believe that they're trying to kill him. And so they're preparing what Hanok believes is a hypo that will kill 10 Vulcans. So certainly kill 1 Vulcan if you're going to kill 10. 10 to 1.
Well, and everybody else, everybody else is aware of the subterfuge, and we get Uhura doing an amazing blood curdling scream.
Yeah, that's right. So Hanok is totally enraptured with his self. He's full of himself. He's like, I'm in control now. I killed Sargon. I'm in power. I'm gonna take this ship, and it's all mine. Ha 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 ha. And so he is so taken with himself in this manner that he doesn't even bother to worry about watching Chapel get rid of McCoy. And so instead, of course, she uses the hyper spray on Spock. And he believes that Spock has just died. So he leaves Spock's body, thinking that he died, but really it just knocked him out.
So what do they do with Hanok?
He flees, but he doesn't have anywhere to go. He doesn't have an android body. He doesn't have a host. He doesn't have any kind of receptacle. And so earlier they established when this happened to Sargon that he must be gone because he wasn't close enough to his sphere. And he wasn't close enough to his receptacle to get back to it. So now Sargon must be gone. And so based on that same logic, now Henoch is gone with nowhere to go. But Sargon was powerful enough to get into the ship. And apparently
That
Henoch
makes sense.
can do it. And the last thing that Henoch thinks is, oh, now he can feel that Sargon is alive. And he's like, hey, what does he say? I want his actual words. Like he says at the beginning, at the end here, when he's begging.
Doesn't he? He please let me transfer.
Yeah. Oh, is that what he says?
Something along those. You want the specifics, so I will cede to the transcript.
He says, fools, I'll simply transfer to another place, another body. But then he senses Sargon. Sargon, no, Sargon, please, let me transfer. So Sargon has the power to stop him from transferring to another person. So he could just jump to another body. But Sargon is somehow impeding this ability. So that's why Henoch dies.
And again, is more of a tense character drama than an action show this week, because this is basically the only action scene we get.
Know. Really, the whole thing is action to me, even though I know it's not really action.
Oh, I'm not saying that as a negative.
But I know what you're saying. It's kind that I like though. It's what I like.
Like you could turn this episode into just like a stage play. It would be great.
Mm-hmm. Would be. Spock, my friend Spock. And so he really believes Spock is gone because he doesn't realize that Chapel is carrying Spock's consciousness.
His Contra?
So, yeah, before we even have that as a name, Nurse Chapel is the first person to hold Spock's Contra.
And she's momentarily disabled.
Yeah, not for too long. She explains she had the Contra. Yes.
He's destroyed.
Well, for me, it was so creepy how Henoch had taken over Chapel's mind. And then it makes sense that the beings, since they're already telepathic and combining that with Vulcan abilities, that makes sense. Which makes this moment where Chapel is able to break free of that control through, definitely, possibly through the help of Spock's Contra and Hypo's Spock and Henoch instead. That showcases it's a very good Chapel moment for me. And of course, since she is in love with Spock, nothing's better than having his Contra there for a little while in her mind. So hooray
Spock,
for her.
I want you inside me. Not what I meant. Anyway.
Well, no, I think I actually was fishing for that joke.
Oh, okay.
Spock was inside Nurse Chapel. Sargon then requests that he and Lisa borrow Kirk and Muldo's bodies one final time. So this will be their last kiss.
And I thought it was, somewhat rude to disassociate with Dr. Mulhall and Captain Kirk mid-kiss, because it would be kind of, embarrassing. But then again, I was also thinking, if it were the last memory that we would have together, the last experience that I would have with my 1,000-year-old wife, I suppose I would want to end everything mid-kiss. So
that does make sense too. Wow, you thought of it from both perspectives. Well done. So in the original, gold star. in his original draft, Sargon and Thalisa. So this is John's original script. Jurgen. They continue as in their existence as spirits floating without bodies in the universe. And I thought this was how the episode ended. I didn't think it was any different to call it Oblivion. I still thought of the universe as oblivion. So I was like, going into oblivion. They're gonna just float around in space forever. So the episode didn't change at all from John's intent, but he felt like it did. So he used a pseudonym. It didn't make a difference to me. I read it exactly the same way. To me, floating around the universe, same thing. Oblivion, whatever. I don't understand why Jane needed to change it, but it was something to do with religion. And it seemed fine the way John had it, because these are energy beings, so why not let them float around forever? But Dugan saw it differently. He said, this is his quote, "That line totally went against my philosophy and cosmology. I didn't want to be associated with it. The oblivion idea is Roddenberry's philosophy, not mine. That might be a small thing, but I have a reputation and a philosophy, and everybody who knows me, what I stand for. I certainly don't stand for oblivion in the afterlife. When you write a script, you don't expect to have your worldview changed by a producer. The rest of Roddenberry's changes were all trivial. The big thing was the change in the episode's philosophy." So they leave Eret and continue on. There's our episode. Diana Mulder as Anne Mulhall. Lieutenant Commander Doctor. Wish I got to see more of her.
Well,
Lou as nurse.
and someone was saying in the chat, it's like, oh, young Dr. Pulaski, very attractive. And while I would agree, I do also, it's one of those things where it's difficult to look at the young version, because I do just see 1988 Diana Muldaur. I see the elder, middle-aged, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I see her too, but I see both.
Okay.
I see her as young when she's young and older when she's older, so I can see both.
What was it? There used to be like little infomercials about what's her name? Audrey Hepburn going to Ethiopia to help the starving people that were there and probably still are. And that was my introduction to Audrey Hepburn. And so when I saw young Audrey Hepburn, I was like, I can only see the infomercial lady. I don't see the beauty that everyone else did in her of her contemporary
Well,
time.
you can't look backwards. You don't have the ability to look back. Like, you can't after you've seen the forward, you can't go back, even though the back is right in front of your face.
Well, maybe it's just
past, rather.
Yeah, and I think it's just something to do with the introduction and how prevalent it was. And it doesn't happen with everyone. It's just specifically with these two.
Can androids dream of electric screwing, says Kronos. I read that without knowing how that sentence was going to end.
Do androids dream of electric screwdrivers?
That's good.
Is that worse? I don't know.
No, that's better. Let's see. I'm going to share this so I don't forget the poll. Oh, speaking of which, we should grade this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Pop Culture Curator, are you back yet? Can you give us your rating of this episode? What you think about it?
I'm still on hold. I'm sorry. They're helping me with my medical benefits.
Oh, okay. Well, if you do finish before the show's over, please let me know so you can give your review at any time that you can. But in the meantime, we'll get our final review from Scotty first.
As I mentioned at the from the top, this episode it just reminds me of a rainy Saturday afternoon watching the CBC. It's one that I've seen many times, and maybe that's what sort of makes it lukewarm, in my opinion, just because I know what's going on, and I'm just like, will someone please just drug Henoch? But then I'm rewatching it, and I get to the risk is our business speech, and I'm just like, okay, this is a cornerstone. This is a really important episode of Star Trek, and I do look at it in terms of the philosophies behind this episode in particular, and boldly going, and the possibility for advancement with benevolent creatures aside from Hanok, but with Sargon, not someone who's trying to take over the ship, but to seek the assistance of the crew to bring more knowledge to the Federation and the galaxy. And I do appreciate it. I give it an A+, more on an intellectual level than on an emotional level for me, because there are some episodes that I'm just like, yeah, this one makes me feel good, even though it's goofy. But this one is actually quite thoughtful. I do enjoy it, even though it does sometimes feel a bit like watching a book. But the philosophy is there, and I do enjoy it.
Then that's why I love it. If it's like watching a book, then that must be why I also give it an A+. But like, I put extra pluses, that just like Franco Walker does. I didn't know that I would have somebody who also feels that way about this episode, but because I enjoy it intellectually, that is why I do get emotional about it. It made me very excited last night while I was tired. I stopped being tired immediately because it made me so excited that I had to start typing about every little scene, at least for half of the episode.
Nice.
And so that's why I had a lot of front-ended notes at the beginning that felt like my review of this episode. It's incredible for me, not just because of Kirk's speech, but how all of the events at either end of that speech clearly and thrillingly to me demonstrate the dangers of their exploration because of their interactions with these beings. And I suppose I feel this way because we get to see these like aliens all the time a little more closely, but this time we get to see them a little more closely before they go off into the ether, the oblivion, the universe, forever. For me, all of those, they all mean the same thing to me. Like, if it's oblivion, what does that mean? What was Gene doing? Because that has to be the universe. But if it's not, where is it? They said they were going to be together. Anyway, we get to see how diverse in thought and intent these godlike beings can be. Sargon being good, Hanok being evil, and what's her name? Thalassa.
Thalassa?
Thalassa. Thalassa. It's just such a strange name to me.
Oh, it is.
Thalassa.
Alien.
It is alien. It is good. It's Greek. And she's somewhere in between those two extremes. Possibly a vestigial personality that is the most human-like of all three of them. We see that in her because she's not maniacal, but she's also not overly virtuous or benevolent. For fear of her existence, she even tries to bargain until she realizes what she is doing, the power she is exerting on these mortals, is wrong. And, well, we never get to find out what happens to that completed robot template that gets left behind. That is one thing that bothers me. I get that Sargon decided he was too dangerous. He and Thalassa were too dangerous to live as humanoid. But he also didn't make a show of destroying this robot. So all they'd have to do is figure out how to make a brain for it someday.
Well, and
yes,
it would be kind of interesting if that ended up being like that android body was sort of an impetus to the progress of Dr. Noonien Singh. So,
that's what I was thinking too, because I think some of the themes of Data come from this episode in terms of being a more powerful creature, more powerful being that wants to be human, and that's Data. And so that's another reason I love this episode, is all of the themes that I think the writers of TNG garnered from it.
Well, and it is nice to have updated Star Trek learn the lessons of the previous.
Exactly. And I'm a little bit nostalgic for it in terms of my first time getting into Star Trek. This is one of the episodes that stands out to me for several reasons, even if it's maybe not the best episode, but it is pretty high up there for me. Because it brought together the tone of Star Trek, the exploration, furthering of knowledge, reaching out, and still staying in touch with home. And I think just for doing that for me, it deserves the grade raise that I give it. And I just want to, further to that, I actually want to see what John's original screenplay was to compare, because that's how much I like this episode.
Wow, that would be cool.
Yeah. So, inside Star Trek, the real story, page 331 says the highly cerebral portions of the story would be eliminated and the complex nature of the plot would be materially simplified. That's why I want to read the original script, because what was it about his original script? How did he present his ideas in the original screenplay that made them want to dumb it down a little bit? Like, I don't even see it as a dumbed down episode. It seems wonderful to me, but to see it a little bit nerdier, that would be nice too. That's why I want to read that. But anytime I want more from an episode than what I get, it's probably going to be an A+. In
Looks
a
like
good way, of course.
Looks like Canadian Spider-Man is about to get out of cellular service.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks so much for hanging out, Canadian Spider-Man. Thank you for telling me that.
No, cheers to both of you.
Okay, so definitely don't forget the poll. I'm going to close it out in a couple of minutes.
25 votes. That's dope. Nice orifice. This isn't the motion picture. We don't discuss orifices.
Wait. Oh.
Yes. The bees. Not the bees.
Poopus Cuber says, I wonder what they made the globes out of. Some kind of hippy dippy lampshades? Oh, that's a good question.
I wonder. Did it look like fiberglass?
Maybe.
The only reason I say that is after they were sort of melted, they had like
that's what we need pop
filaments.
What were those things made of? Pop culture.
The globes.
Frankel Walker says, sod it. I'm getting a cup of tea. I'm going to be going to the loo all night, says Frankel Walker. Not judging, just wondering, says Cronus. Yeah, that's the problem with hydrating at night, Frankel Walker. Phantom Boomer says, oh, my. This possessed Spock reminds me of somebody. What does it remind you of? Snortopoopa says McCoy probably suspects that Chapel's been playing with the special pharmaceuticals again. Oh yeah, when he wants her to go, once he wants to take over the duties of dispensing the medication. That's how far back we are. Oh my goodness. Jim says, you're the second person to complain about my channel name, says Franco.
I appreciate the long
Jim.
title.
It's thoughtful. It says exactly what your business is and what you do.
Yeah.
Krona says, she is a red shirt.
True. She survives.
Okay, that's it, Franco Walker. And the second time you mentioned that you're going to be weaned all night. Now I have to play this.
Piddle-dee-dee.
There. That takes care of that. The Phantom Boomer Explorer says, old Doc Pulaski was hot back in her day. Yes, indeed. Stay hydrated, says Cronus. Agreed. James Caserta says, I love the music when Kirk keels over. I love the music in this episode. I think it's good. Jim says, I said hi to Phantom Boomer when you first Phantom Boomer says, wasn't there some short sci-fi story about Shatner's hairpiece? Maybe on Robot Chicken? Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, there is. There's a short film on YouTube, and it's about a man who gets William Shatner's hairpiece, and it gives him like superpowers. It's quite funny.
Yes. Starpoopus says the foot pedals were used in the Doomsday Machine, but are they used again after this moment?
They're always there, though. That's what's great.
They're always there.
And according to the production trivia on IMDb, they were fiberglass globes, one of which was used later on in the Enterprise incident as a Romulan cloaking device.
Oh, thanks for looking that up. Well done. Cronus says, I am pop culture. Darius Munchausen says, Scotty R37 is robosexual. Confirmed. That's confirmed?
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. Depends on the robot.
Right. Makes sense. More like what little girls are made of.
Yeah. Yeah, Andrea. Come on.
Robots and that. Yes, Andrea.
All the twins in iMud. Come on.
Oh, yeah, they're all the same. They're the copies. But maybe not. Maybe not.
Stella.
I was going to say, not Mud's wife.
Yes.
James Caserta says, I'm not pop culture. Me neither.
This is like the
But-
I am Spock and I am not Spock. Pop.
Speaking of which, we might have pop culture back. Are you able to give your
Yes,
review?
I just got off the phone. I apologize for the delay, everyone.
Oh, I understand you're taking care of important business, but I do want you to give your review. Oops, I don't know why I did that. I wanted to do this.
I'll give this episode an A. I loved it. I love Diana Muldaur. I think she's underrated. I'm not really happy the way the writers treated her on TNG. But for this episode specifically, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great to see Spock or Leonard Nimoy playing the bad guy and basically relishing in his power over the other people and using it to manipulate, which is usually not something Spock would do. And it was highly irregular of him. But I enjoyed it very much so. I'm sorry I wasn't able to talk more during the stream, but I got a notice from my medical provider that I had to immediately call them, and then I spent like over an hour just on hold listening to the horrible music, so I apologize for that, everyone.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, but it's very important that you listen when they call you like that. So hopefully everything got sorted out that you needed to do.
I think so.
That's good.
Good
That
deal.
is
Thank
first
you.
priority. So great.
Thank you for your patience.
Absolutely. And thank you for the bloopers.
Glad to do it.
Snorpoopus Cuber says the leash. Was that your review? That was your whole review, right?
Yes. I know you guys already gave your review, so I kept it short.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. The Lisa, you haven't changed. You still burn the food. Oh, I missed that part. I missed that scene. Oh, that would have been Hennock saying that, because Hennock was the one eating a bunch in the original script. Zargon is a dink, says Cronus.
No.
Oh, my stars.
Uh-oh, there's some doggy drama.
It was the evil version that was beamed up from the surface.
Franco Walker says, I wish I had some bickies to dunk in my tea. Like
As do we all.
cookies. The Phantom Boomer Explorer says, a little more McCoy shadow in the pink, a little more booze in my drink, and all makes it hard to think. Chronos
Ladies
says,
and
I have
gentlemen.
absinthe.
Dude. Absinthe. That'll put hair on your hair.
Phantom Boomer says, I have rum.
Yar.
Franco Walker says, I drank a lot last night, giving my liver a day off. I did not drink last week. Chronos says, I thought you said you have to run. Ha! Phantom Boomer's feeling creative. Ooh, that's good. Utilize that. Create something. Franco Walker says, do you mind if I use it, or are you going to develop it? Oh, did I miss something?
I think Pink Pain was going to be a
Poetry.
band name.
Gotcha.
One last kiss. So sad.
Chronos. Yeah, one last kiss, and that was it.
Why are you doing a Connery impression, Kronos? Kiss away. So sad.
For you, I guess. Gorilla's random thought says Spock was deeper inside her than anyone else will ever be. This is true.
Yes.
Yeah, because Roger Corby's dead. Yeah, I don't really know what if Nurse Chapel remarries after. But
Well,
even
and
if she
also-
does, having the Katra inside you, yeah, that's deeper than anybody could go.
Well, and also with the transference, I guess that Chapel would have had to cross fly and be one with Spock. So
And
after that,
what was the end of that thought?
well, that would be the closest that she would. I know, and I know Gorilla's making a joke about it, and I think it's hilarious. But like it would have also been a satisfying conclusion to that romance.
And to me, it is. It works for me. But I made a mistake. I said remarry. She was never married. Roger Corby was just her fiance. So I'm just correcting myself. One last screw, says Clemens. Well, I don't know if they did that. You think they haven't had bodies for 500 years, 500, half a million years, 500,000 years? I think they'd want you. Where are them
Wearing
bodies?
the bodies.
Well, I think that's the doctor from Voyager's perspective when he inhabits 7 of 9. Eat all the cheesecake.
Eat all the cheesecake. That's delightful.
I've got 10 more minutes to hang around. Is this the last episode that they show Chapel having feelings for Spock? She didn't even show her feelings for Spock. She just does her duty. That's her job. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not sure. It's the benefit of being able to go through these. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Well, one of the side effects of going through in production order was how exciting it was to see Sulu again, just for a second before we don't see him again for the rest of the episode. Until we get back to the bridge. We're like having our happy ending. Hark 130 says, "Hey all, I've been driving and listening." And Chrono says, "I really like this episode."
Nice.
Jack Stafford says 7 out of 10, a classic Trek premise, and Franco Walker gives A+++++. Kronos says A here, and Darius says, "I always feel bad that I can't rate most TOS episodes since I haven't seen them yet." Well, there's
I envy you.
I know.
You get to watch them all for the first time.
Yeah, that's so cool. I wish I could watch them for the first time again, but that would require. Well, I don't really want to wish that because that might happen with a brain injury or something. So
Wow.
maybe I don't wish that.
That got dark pretty quick. You know, it would be nice, but I don't want amnesia or Alzheimer's. So never mind. I'm happy with the memories of these episodes that I've already seen.
Yes. But it is a theme in Red Dwarf. Well, it's not a theme, but it happens in Red Dwarf where the computer wants to read all the novels all over again. So he deletes his memory so he can reread it. Or he has somebody delete his memory for him so he can reread that particular set of novels. Jack Stafford says, "My only mild criticism is not any classic Trek action as a balance." Yeah, there was no fight scene for Scotty to talk about, really.
Yes. Uppercut.
Don't pet the snoots, says Kronos. Franco Walker says it's such a typical Star Trek episode. It's got baddies, goodies, body swap speeches, overacting, and kissing. And also follow Scotty R37 on Twitter. At Scotty R37.
On the tweets.
Fun episode, classic, says Herc130. Kronos says, "Really? My potato chips need more salt." Kronos asks, "So you like STD?" "No. Where did you get that impression?" I don't like any of the filth. Anything after 2005, I generally do not like it. And by generally, I mean all of it. Kronos says, I have chips and popcorn. Kronos also says, I need salt. Canadian Spider-Man, that's okay. So that's the point where he left 10 minutes ago, or at least lost his service, lost his cell service. Darius says, they weren't showing 60s Trek on TV when I was growing up, but I did find it on Prime. I started watching it in order with my dad just before he had his final stroke. Oh,
Amazing to be able to share Star Trek with your dad like that, though, Darius. It's sad, but I'm glad that you have those
yeah,
memories.
it is. Me too. Yes, I am sorry about your dad, Darius. I do remember when you were streaming, and one of your first live streams was after you lost him. I was like, that was an interesting live stream. I really had a interesting time that night. I was just getting started on YouTube back then. Yeah, my mom, her dad loved Star Trek and she watched it with him, but she never watched it with me. Like she never put it on for me, so I didn't discover it until later. Kronos said, "I'll have to keep showing up, I suppose." Yeah, keep showing up. Hey, Scotty, I don't blame you, buddy. Enough said.
Thank you.
I hope Gil is okay. I hope
That's
Gil is
why.
okay too. Oh, right. He was supposed to have a show last night. And he didn't. So, yes, I hope he's okay too. I think I've seen 50 to 66% of season 1. Kronos also says, I can't remember what age I first saw the original series. It was an OG. Yeah, that's when I played Jaluja.
Yellow Jaw.
Daniel's Hot Topic says, I love Return to Tomorrow. Me too.
Hey, Daniel. I am Doggo. I am Kirok. Sorry, jump on the queue here.
You can do
Wes
that.
Cagle. Hey, Wes Cagle. Diana Muldaur is the reason season 2 of TNG is my least favorite of TNG. Replacing Beverly Crusher with Dr. Catherine Pulaski was a huge mistake. Like I think that it helped to flesh out O'Brien and gave Worf a little bit more personality in terms of her interactions with him. But Bev is a hard doctor to replace.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea earlier in the chat where someone said to have them both practicing on the ship at the same time and kind of have some conflict with that with their styles because Star Trek doesn't have emotional conflict, it has intellectual conflict. And what better intellectual conflict would you get than between two doctors practicing medicine in different ways? That would have been a lot of fun, I think.
I'm not sure that the actress who played Crusher had the acting chops for that.
But if you
then Pulaski might have won.
What was the what?
Yeah, she would have definitely.
What was that episode with where? Okay, the one where Worf gets the spinal surgery, and then he dies and everything.
Is
and
it called Ethics?
Yeah, Ethics. That would have been an interesting place to bring back Dr. Pulaski to sort of do it and have that ethical conflict between, instead of just random Doctor of the Week, having Pulaski come back, because that was cool. In terms of the intellectual conflict, that one has Gates McFadden doing a really good job.
Yes, Pulaski played a great doctor as well as she could with what she was given, and it wasn't her fault that the writers didn't give her any kind of care. Like she could have been written with a little more caring, a little more heart. And if they would have done that, then her Dr. McCoy bit would have worked a little better.
Well, and the fans would have appreciated her more as well. They seem to blame the character for the writing, but it was the writer's fault that they wrote her the way they did.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. Herc 130 says, did CSM say Lizzo? Ha ha ha. Oh, did somebody say Lizzo? I must have. Canadian Spider-Man. Yeah, I'm sorry I went that dark, Finko. I didn't mean to. It just happened.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
We forgive you.
Says Jill will have her a moment if that happens. Bluey?
Bluey?
It's true. I will watch it all over again, and we'll do this all over again with somebody. I don't know. It'll happen in about 60 years. I don't know. That's a lot, maybe 50.
You just need to meet a nomad.
And Darius says, my dad watched every episode of TOS on first airing. I think he was in the army. How?
Wow.
Yes, rest in peace, Father Munchausen. I was just trying to illustrate that, yes, I did start binge watching the show, and that's why I stopped. My dad actually kind of remembered seeing them when he was young.
Oh, wow.
Jack Stafford says, I can imagine Crusher and Pulaski debating when Worf broke his spine. Hey! That was
cool.
what you said.
I didn't steal it, Jack Stafford, I swears.
Y'all were both great minds think alike. Krona says, I thought it was a brain. And Jack Stafford says, oh geez, that was an eerie coincidence.
Great minds.
And hello to Big Daddy MRI.
Hey,
Hi.
Big Daddy.
Hello there.
Jack Stafford says Pulaski got lines specifically written for McCoy because of the writer's strike, I think.
Well, and I for some reason, one of the producers didn't like Gates McFadden, had her fired, and then they wrote Pulaski specifically to try and recreate the sort of McCoy Kirk dynamic. And the only time I ever actually felt like I had been ripped off by Pulaski leaving was when they brought back Moriarty, because he never refers to Dr. Pulaski again. And I always thought that would have been a nice touch.
And he would too. He really liked her.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Hot Topic says, Scotty, I wasn't expecting all that last night on Sci-Fi Nation stream.
Oh, I was a Tasmanian devil. Oh, yeah.
I still need to listen to that. Morty Stoles?
No, you don't. No, you really don't.
Darius says to Canadian Spider-Man, X-Files fans refer to cigarette smoking man as CSM for short. And there you go. Prima says, can anti-derivative Jill sing the opening song to Enterprise?
Uh-oh.
Just the thing that they say in the theme song?
Like
Space? The Final Frontier? Or are you talking about the actual lyrics?
It's been a long time.
Oh, to Enterprise. Oh, it's been a long... Yeah, I'm not going to fucking sing that.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You got an F-bomb from Jill. Just an off the cuff.
Getting from there... Nope. It's been a long time, but my time is finally near. I can see my dream come alive at last. I can touch the sky, and it's not going to hold me down no more. No, it's not going to change my mind, because I've got faith of the heart. It's going where my heart will take me. I've got faith to believe I can do anything. I've got strength of the soul, and no one's going to bend or break me. I can reach any star. I've got faith. Faith of the heart. So I can recite it. I'm not going to sing it.
Did you do that off the top of your head?
Yes, I did.
Nice. Good work. Color me impressed.
I thought about looking it up, but I was like, let's see what I can do. And I did. That was fun. But I can't sing, so I'm not going to torture anybody like that. And by I can't sing, I've never learned how to harness my voice in that way. Nice try, says Cruz. And Harry says, okay, so now I've got to leave. I've been here way too long. I'm going to close the poll. And let's close that poll. I've been having too much fun. You guys are too much fun. You made me lose track of time. It's all your fault. I'm just kidding. Okay. I don't blame you guys for anything. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Oh, my
And
pleasure. Thanks
return
for the
to
invite, as
tomorrow.
always.
Return to tomorrow. So the chat rates it an A rating, 72%, 17% for B rating, 10% give it a C, and nobody gives it a D or an F.
Nice.
And Carlos like, you can't blame me. No, I'm not going to. And DJ Play Nice says, first visit here. Thanks for hosting. Rock.
Very cool.
You're
Cheers,
welcome. Starfupa says, and now Lucy in the sky with diamonds. So you guys, I will see you guys next time. I'm going to leave you all off on the preview for next week's episode, which is going to be Patterns of Force. But first,
Hooray!
Scotty's going to tell us whatever you'd like to share.
Nothing. Just don't forget to take a look at our Star Trek Day celebration right here on Anti-Derivative Jill's channel. We don't really have anything going on in the Phantasmagorium in the near future, but it's always a pleasure to hang out and play. So thanks for having me again, Jill.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And Pop Culture Curator, do you have anything you'd like to share? Your channel and everything? And congratulations again on reaching 400 subscribers.
Thank you. Tonight on our sci-fi horror stream, we're covering the movie Scanners from 1981. Tomorrow, Gorilla's Random Thoughts and myself will be doing season 2 of Gilligan's Island. And Saturday, I will be doing another open mic, open panel rumblings from the lab. And Monday, I will see you all again as we cover Lost in Space season 1. Thank you. And I'm really sorry I wasn't able to offer more with this stream, but I promise I will next week.
Yeah, I did miss your voice, but I understand it was for a very good purpose. You definitely need to keep on top of your health. That is always number one priority, and I'm very glad that you put it in that rank. And so thank you, everyone in the chat. I hope you had a fun time listening to this stream about Return to Tomorrow. Join us next week for Patterns of Force. This Friday, I'll have a Plumik Tea Time about a UFO episode. I don't remember which one yet. But I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, hide! They're right behind me! Hide!
Your uniform, Captain. You should make a very convincing Nazi.
She captured a Seance spy that was attempting to assassinate the Fuhrer. Guards.
You were sent here to kill our Führer. Confess? Do you want some more persuasion?
This is the time of destiny. Hail victory! Hail victory!
Professor, you've got to talk. You've got to tell them what happened.
Now we've finished the job.